There's something been coming out of either Hollywood or indie movie developers lately that is already starting to become kind of a trend lately. For those of you who are unaware, because these aren't getting the biggest commercial releases like normal movies, like a John Wick or a Marvel movie, and that is because these movies are usually funded by smaller development companies or released in like a couple theaters or only live parties and stuff like that. Anyway, let's get to the point of the video. I'm talking about these characters that are suddenly becoming free use or going into public domain, and mostly we're talking about what happened recently with the original version of Mickey Mouse from Steamboat Willie is now considered fair use. So what does this mean? Well, if you follow movies, you'll know that it seems to be a thing now where people will take these characters that people love and make them into horror movies or terrifying creatures. The first example of this was Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh went public domain because it's been so long. And what was the first thing done that made this popular? Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Taking those characters and putting them into a horror movie slasher. Now, for those of you who haven't seen this movie, don't worry. The majority of the world hasn't seen this movie. It's very hard to find, I believe. In fact, I have a coworker of mine who saw it at like a small opening release at a theater. He had to travel for it, and it wasn't that good. I'm gonna be 100% honest. I personally haven't seen it, but he tells me all about these movies and stuff like that. And I was told that the Winnie the Pooh movie was not that good, honestly. Blood and Honey, it was a movie that could have not been made, and we all would have been fine and dandy. But now it did. Although it wasn't good, it did start a trend. And now there's stuff coming out now that is either public domain or they're getting away with it by not calling it specific things. For example, the next big one that came out was called The Mean One. Of The Grinch Stole Christmas, it's been that long. And I heard that one was slightly better. It's not like the best movie of all time, but it was slightly better than Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Which is funny to say, because Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey is getting a fucking sequel somehow. I guess they just really wanted to use that fair or public domain stuff. So, and The Mean One, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know, The Mean One, or The Grinch, or whatever they're calling it, in the movie, was played by the same person that it plays Art the Clown in Terrifier. And he did a tremendous job. This one I did see, and yeah, he did a tremendous job. He had speaking lines. I liked it. Obviously, it wasn't the best thing that's ever come out, but I did thoroughly enjoy watching the movie. Now, the reason that I'm making this video is because we are not done. There is a third one that just went public domain. Steamboat Willie, Mickey Mouse. The 1932 or 39 cartoon that was made by Walt Disney, well, that version of Mickey Mouse is now royalty free. And it just happened today at the time of recording this. I'm recording this on January 1st. And it just happened. And there is already stuff being made that must have been planned, waiting for this release to come out before they could announce it, of a horror game, a 4-player co-op horror game with the killer looking like Steamboat Willie Mouse. And this is the first one that we're getting a video game adaptation of it, but I'm curious to see if someone's gonna do a movie. Whether these movies do good or not, they get publicity. The Mean One didn't get as much, but Winnie the Pooh really sparked debate, this is okay, right? This is what public use is about. But now, this is Disney's head honcho. This is the three circles that dominate the planet. And all of a sudden, we are allowed to do anything we want with it. And of course, there's already memes coming out of very inappropriate stuff with Mickey. Don't go on X. But I've already seen, but it really makes me wonder, with all these things coming out that are going into public domain, is this going to become a new thing? Is this going to become a new genre where we take stuff that was loved by people's childhoods and basically flip them and ruin them? And when I say ruin, I don't mean you destroyed the character, I can never watch old stuff ever again. I just mean ruin them in this was a family-friendly content. I'm making it horror now, and I'm going to see Mickey rip someone's head off or something like that. And it's interesting to see that this was the first thing that people thought of. Like, this was the first thing with Winnie the Pooh. Like, this was like, yep, we're making a horror movie. And like I said, it wasn't that good. And they're obviously taking creative liberties with it. Winnie the Pooh, it was just Pooh and Piglets, and I think... No, not Tigger. Tigger's coming in the sequel. That's the only thing confirmed. Tigger's in the sequel. But it was only just masks. It was still people. And then the mean one came out, and it was straight up the Grinch. Like, that was the Grinch. Basically, the plot was we heard the story wrong. Like, Dr. Seuss wrote it wrong. What actually happened was the Grinch killed someone, and now he's the mean one, and the ripoff of Whoville is, like, terrified of him, or don't know if he's real, stuff like that. And now we have this 4-player co-op horror game coming out that it seems like it's going to be like a Dead by Daylight thing, but you don't play as the killer. It is only you and your friends. Obviously, there's very little info on this because it just came out, like, I think like an hour before I started recording, which is insane to me. Now, I'm all for stuff like this happening. I love to see what the creative liberties will allow for people to make stuff like this. But I wonder if it'll get old quick because, yeah, it's cool that that's happening. But do you expect this Mickey co-op horror game to be Game of the Year? I definitely don't. Do they expect Winnie the Pooh 2 to do better than Winnie the Pooh 1? I don't think so. And the mean one, I don't even think it got a theatrical release. I think it went straight to either like DVDs and stuff like that. I don't know 100%. Because I'm just starting to like connect the dots on these. And it makes me wonder, what is the next thing that's coming out that is going to be like used? And is it going to be in a horror version? What if we get a horror character that is finally out for public domain? Are we gonna flip it? Is it gonna be from horror to comedy? Is it gonna be stuff like that? Like, it will be very cool to see, like, okay, this character... Oh, okay, Sonic is now fair use. I'm going to make him the slowest person alive and see how that does. And then I'll make it also a comedy. Why not? But yeah, I just wanted to say, like, if you haven't noticed that a lot of these are happening lately, try to keep an eye out because it's very interesting that this stuff is happening. And this is the first thing we're doing with it. We're just destroying it. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about how that's happening and how Mickey Mouse is now considered the public domain. I wonder if Disney is going to try to do something to stop that from happening. Like either re-license it, or I don't exactly know how it works with characters, especially that old. But I feel like Disney will not just allow this to happen, but who knows, maybe we'll see. Maybe they just won't care. They're too busy trying to make woke Marvel.